All right, so today's lesson is histograms. This is Chapter 12, Lesson 2. For the warm-up, it says, Alicia researched the average price of concert tickets. The table shows the results. Fill in the tally column and frequency column on the frequency table. So here, when we are filling in the tallies, okay, for price, we want to see if the price is between $25 and $49.99. So, or $50 and $74.99, or within the limit of $75 and $99.99. Does everybody see that each one of those intervals are equal? They're all equal intervals, and they stop at the 99. Also, because they have to stop at the 99, because what would happen if I had a $50 up here and a $50 down here? Then I wouldn't know which interval to put it in, right? So when we do our frequency charts with intervals, we have to make sure that our intervals don't overlap, okay? So this $83.87 would go in which interval? First, second, or third? Third. Right, in the $75 to $99.99. Is everybody clear? And this is what your frequency chart would look like. Okay? Now, what is the difference between this frequency table and the one we did last class? So, the difference between this frequency table and the one we did last class is that this frequency table has intervals for the first column rather than a single number. All right, so this lesson we are going to interpret data. It says data from a frequency table can be displayed as a histogram. A histogram is a type of bar graph used to display a numerical data that have been organized into equal intervals, just like we talked about in the warm-up. These intervals allow you to see the frequency distribution of the data, or how many pieces of data are in each interval. I want you to make sure that you write down the vocabulary. All right, so again, a histogram is a type of bar graph used to display numerical data that have been organized into equal intervals. A frequency distribution of the data is how many pieces of data are in each interval. In this diagram, there's some very important information about this type of statistical display. Very important about the histogram. In a histogram, there is no space between the bars. Okay? In a histogram, there is no space between the bars. Okay? Does everybody see that? They're all right next to it, right up against each other. Okay? Also, because all of the intervals are equal, all of the bars have the same width. Okay? All of the bars have the same width because the intervals are equal intervals. And thirdly, intervals with a frequency of 0 have a height of 0. All right, so it says refer to the histogram over here to the right, describe the histogram, and we want to know how many remote control airplanes cost at least $100. At least, what does at least mean? At least 100 means $100 or more. Very good. Very good. So let's see. In the $100 or more, let's see, we've got 100 to 124.99. We've got this one. We've got 125 to 149.99, and we have 150 to 174.99. So, how many airplanes are in my first interval? 2, right? So there's 2 right there. How many here? There's 0 here, and here there's 1. So, to answer our second question, how many airplanes cost at least $100? 3. And that's how we got that 3. Okay? Also, just to describe, to answer our first question where it says describe a histogram, it says there are 9, 7, 1, 2, and 1 or 20 pieces, 20 prices in dollars recorded. Okay? More remote control airplanes had prices between $25 and $49.99 than any other range. So what statistical item would that be if it's the most there? That would be the mode. Very good. There were no airplanes recorded with a price between $125 and $149.99. So right there, you can see we have a space for that interval. No bar at all for that interval. Is everybody clear? For the got it, and this one you should write down. It says refer to the histogram above, and we want to look at how many remote control airplanes cost less than $75. So I just recopied this histogram up here. I just put it down here. So what are we going to do? We're going to look at which intervals?
The first three.
We're looking at $25 to $49.99, $50 to $74.99, and that's it, because this one is $75 to $99.99, right? And it says cost less than $75. So $75 is not included in that. So we're looking at those two intervals. Is everybody with me? So because we're looking at those intervals, how many do we have in the first interval? 9. And how many do we have in the second interval? 7. So we have 9 plus 7, which is, so 16 airplanes. 16 airplanes have a cost that is less than $75. All right, so now we're going to construct a histogram. We're going to construct a histogram. So in this first example, you don't have to write any of this down. It says the table shows the number of daily visitors to selected state parks. We want to draw a histogram to represent the data. Okay? Now, the first thing we need to do is we need to figure out our interval. And when we figure out our interval, okay, it says it is important to choose a scale that includes all of the numbers in the data set. The interval should organize the data to make it easy. So when we look at this list right here, when we look at this list, the lowest number, so the lowest number is 108, and the highest number is 382, yeah? All right, so we need to include numbers from 108 to 382, but we want to include equal intervals. So I would go from 100 to 399. Is everybody clear with that? So 100 to 399. But I'm not going to put it all in one interval, right? We're going to split it up so it'd be easier for us to compare. So if you look here, the intervals that we used are 100 to 149, 50 to 199. Does everybody see how that works? Then 200 to 249, and so forth. There is your frequency chart. So the first step was to make a frequency table to organize the data and use a scale that goes from 100 to 399, and we used an interval of 50, right? Step 2 is to draw and label a horizontal and vertical axis and include a title. You need to make sure that you have your title there, okay? We want to show the intervals from the frequency table on the horizontal axis, and we want to label the vertical axis to show the frequencies, okay? And again, frequency is how many times something happens, okay? So this is what our frequency chart looks like, okay? Also, step 3, it says for each interval, draw a bar whose height is given by the frequencies. So when we look at here in the interval 100 to 149, there's 2 tallies here. So 2 visitors. Well, not 2 visitors. This is probably in hundreds, right? So this is two times that they had visitors from 100 to 149 visitors. Does that make sense? And then for the times that they had visitors in the numbers in the interval of 150 to 199, that would be 7. And then the next one, 8. Is everybody clear how you make the histogram? All right, so let's do one together. So the table at the right shows a set of scores. We want to choose intervals to, and then we want to make a frequency table and construct a histogram to represent the data. So the first thing we want to do is we want to have our frequency chart, right? So let's see, what's the lowest number here? So 65 is the lowest number, and what's the highest number? So the highest number there is 98. So the intervals have to include, we can go from 60 to 99, right? 60 to 99. So here are the intervals. So we have 60 to 69, 70 to 79, 80 to 89, and 90 to 99. How many are in each one of those intervals? 10, right? So now that we have our intervals, now we can tally them. And when you do that, you can just do like 72 goes in here, 70 to 79, right? So there's 72. 76 would go in which interval? 70 to 79, right? And then 81 would go 80 to 89. Is everybody clear how we're doing the tallies?
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right. So there are the tallies. And then the frequency, all we're doing is we're adding up the tallies. So what do we have here? 2, 5, 10, and 11. All right, so we have scores. The scores go on the horizontal axis, and the scores are what we're going to use are equal intervals. Okay, so the equal intervals are 60 to 69, 70 to 79, 80 to 89, and 90 to 99. What goes on the y-axis or the vertical axis? The number of, okay, and that's going to be the frequency, right? Okay, so the number of students and the frequency always goes on the vertical axis. Okay, so that's just like that. And now we add the bars. And there are your bars. All right, and that's the end of the lecture.